stream where we play non-violent games, games that reward us for engaging with them either intellectually and or emotionally, rather than rewarding us for combat or any other kind of violent accomplishments. We are back with the Ace Attorney today. The Great Ace Attorney, rather. And remember, at the hour mark, I am going to, I'm going to take a bit of a break because doing all these different voices gets pretty taxing. So just giving myself just a few minutes to let my voice recuperate, I guess, come down from everything is helpful. So, yep. I have considered the defense counsel's request for a further summation examination of the jury, and I have determined that the court must uphold the defense's judicial right to this procedure. So, counsel, you will now proceed with your second summation examination. I presume the jury is ready, Mr. Foreman?
We are, my lord.
Very good. In that case, I must ask each of you now to state clearly and concisely for the court the grounds on which you find the defendant guilty of this crime. Sorry. Just had to... Okay. The accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? Those 3 books of his. If there was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider. Even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related to this crime if the... Yeah, no, hold on a second. Let me check. Yeah, let me check the voices. Let's see. Okay. Even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related to this crime if the window was closed, can it? Dearie me, it was only a little book, hardly life-threatening, even with a direct hit. Dearie me, it was only a little book, hardly life-threatening, even with a direct hit. I haven't really settled on a good voice for her yet, for Joan. Dearie me, it was only a little book, hardly life-threatening, even with a direct hit. Yeah, that works. Dearie me, it was only a little book, hardly life-threatening, even with a direct hit.
Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be in a tiny bit of trouble. Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be in a tiny bit of trouble.
Come to think of it, we had a fire at home a while ago. It gave me the sneezes.
Yes. Considerably more tangible arguments from all members of the jury this time around, it seems. With one notable exception, of course. My learned student friend was unable to find fault in the previous witness testimony. So the court must accept the fact that it was indeed the accused seen fleeing from the scene. And moreover, no one else was even at the scene to commit the crime.
Well, if the eyewitnesses are correct, it would seem as if the conclusion is somewhat set in stone. I don't get this. How can you be an eyewitness and not be in the same place? Like, how could... I don't understand. Like,
Okay, there was nobody else around. Well, then how are there witnesses? Right? Like, that doesn't work. I fail to see how it can be argued any other way.
That means, I'm afraid, that during this summation examination, it's essential that you establish some other tangible explanation for the facts.
But how? What would even constitute a tangible explanation here? Isn't it obvious? Who stabbed the woman and how? Those two details are all you need provide. Simply give us a name and a method by which the attack was conducted. There, I was thinking this might be hard.
Listen now, Huda, you have to do it. Otherwise, this really will be where the trial ends.
Ugh, no pressure then. That's quite enough preamble. Proceed with the summation examination, please. I presume you are prepared, Counsel. Oh, yes, my lord. Alright, Rhinosuke, focus your mind now. Clearly, the key to this summation examination is going to be juror number 4, the maid, or should I say Mrs. Garadeb.
We have a book that disappeared from the Garadeb's house on the evening of the incident, and the 4th book found in the victim's hand.
There must be a way to link the two. Yes, that's what we have to find. Using every technique I've learned in my short career so far, whatever it takes.
Don't forget to keep an eye on Mrs. Garadeb and how she reacts, even to the things other people say.
But as we now know, there were 4 books, not 3. Well, what difference does it make? There's every possibility that the 4th book, in fact, belongs to the defendant's landlord. Yes, that's the part I have a problem with. Sorry? Well, at the point the woman was stabbed, this landlord fellow was at home, wasn't he? Enjoying a fiery scrap with his wife or something, you said. It's not exactly how I put it, no. Well, anyway, the point is the fellow and his wife were somewhere else when it happened.
I think that's what you call a strong alibi.
So it couldn't have been the landlord who did it, which only leaves the Nipponese fellow. Honestly, I can't see what all this palaver's about. If it's a done deal, isn't it? I suppose it is, since I have nothing witty left to say. So, you might be willing to change your decision, you mean?
Oh my.
Sorry.
Oh my. Such delight on your face. But I'm afraid I shan't be swayed by emotion. Despite what you may think of me, I'm a very modern, metropolitan, and rational woman.
That's great.
If one reads the morning papers, it's all forgotten by tea time, isn't it? So I read them in the first place. You see, modern, metropolitan, and rational thinking, wouldn't you say?
And not at all extreme.
As I see it, an overwhelmingly suspicious Japanese man has been implicated by overwhelmingly strong testimony. So despite 1 or 2 minor puzzlements, I do declare that the man is overwhelmingly guilty. Modern, metropolitan, and rational logic, wouldn't you say?
Overwhelmingly.
But us modern girls are always delighted to embrace new fads, you know. So I'd be only too happy to consider an exciting new theory if you could come up with one.
I'd be happy to do that too, if only I could.
Let's do our very best not to disappoint the modern and metropolitan young lady.
Right. I'm glad you omitted rational there. But what about the possibility that the window was open?
What about it? I mean, there's just no way it could have been. How can you be so sure? The prosecutor fellow over there said it earlier, didn't he? Windows in London are no joke. You don't want to invite that sort of coal indoors. So no, that window wasn't open. Us Londoners like sitting by the fire and staying warm, see?
But you couldn't categorically state that the window wasn't open, could you?
It just wasn't. They wouldn't have opened it. Then what's the point in even having windows, huh?
Counsel, you will kindly refrain from childish bickering.
Oh, sorry. Somehow I need to show there's an undeniable possibility that the window was open. Because this young man isn't going to budge otherwise.
Hold it!
You just want to get this over with. How can you sit there and say something like that? A man's future is at stake here.
Well, him and me both then, like I said before.
What?
I told you already, I'm a day laborer, aren't I? If I don't bring home some readies with me tonight, you'll find me floating down in the Thames tomorrow morning.
What?
You heard me. My missus isn't one to mess about, you know. She could be fierce, believe you me.
Another shining example of marital bliss, then.
Situation like this cropped up the other day. It was, well... Do you know, it's funny, but I can't quite remember.
That's not the voice I gave him, is it? Oh yeah, it's a little deeper. Okay. Sorry?
It was too frightening, that's the thing. I must have blocked it out.
Helpful. I wonder if Mr. Beat will ever be dragged into the Thames by his scarf. Don't even go there, Mrs. Sato. There must be some way to jog his memory about this.
Hold it!
But the little book was on... It's playing with fire to betray fire in love. Isn't it? Well, didn't you agree? Oh, well, any kind of betrayal is certainly a bad thing, yes. But I think the argument might have arisen out of your misunderstanding, Mrs. Garrideb. Never mind that. The point is, we were just having a jovial little dispute, nothing more. And I won't have any more of these suggestions that it was anything whatsoever to do with this crime. Right, well, we'll see about that. But what about juror number 5? He doesn't seem to be turning a hair at Mrs. Garrideb's relentless onslaughts. It's almost as though he's used to it. What a gentle soul he is.
Hold it!
Does that have anything to do with your decision about the defendant's culpability in this case?
Sorry, what's that? You'll have to speak up, lad.
Could you tell us more about that?
Anyway, I mustered all my puff to blow them out. Only I must have blown wrong somehow. The flames didn't go out, but candles went flying all over the room. The furniture caught and everything went up.
The whole place filled with smoke. Definitely sounds like devil worship to me. And by the sneezes, I presume you mean a cold? But how did you catch a cold from a fire?
What a fiasco it was. The grandchildren, bless them, threw water over me as they tried to put out the flames. And then because the whole room had filled up with smoke, of course, we had to open all the windows to clear it.
The windows...
The biting winter rushed over me like the devil dancing on my grave, it did. I caught a terrible cold from it. It put me in hospital for a while. I won't forget that birthday in a hurry.
I knew it was devil worship all along. Something about this old man's story is playing on my mind for some reason. We need to demonstrate who, apart from Mr. Natsume, could have attacked the young woman. Hey, Thrifty! How are you today? Oh, that does remind me. I forgot to put my usual link to my Discord in the chat. Badoop. Alright. So hi Thrifty, how are you today? These two jurors' statements clearly contradict one another.
They do? How exactly, counsel? Don't push at me again. I told you it wasn't me. What's that tree? Do you see? Oh, me. See what's, Did you hear Journal number 6's account of his birthday celebrations last year? It seems, despite being a Londoner, he once opened his windows in the middle of winter. Well, yes, of course. Because it was an emergency. I mean, obviously, if the room was filled with smoke from a fire, then you'd be mad not to open the... Oh! Exactly. On the day in question, at the time of the incident, there was a fire in the Garadeb household, and Mr. Garadeb had the following to say about it. The whole place filled with smoke. Oh, my hat.
Excuse me.
Juror number 4, do you have something to say about that? Mrs. Garadeb.
Dearie me. What is the meaning of this? How dare you imply that I'm hiding who I really am?
It's imperative that you confirm something for the court. So please, it's time to drop the pretense now.
What is it?
When the fire started in your house that day, did you or your husband open the window?
What? I beg your pardon, what are you insinuating?
The room would have been thick with smoke after the carpet and bookcase caught fire as they did. In a situation like that, it's inconceivable that you wouldn't have opened the window.
And what if we did?
Oh, that's alright, Thrifty. Take care of yourself. Have a lovely day.
Oh, all right then. Yes, you're right. My husband was frantically trying to open the window, which can't have been easy since I continued to give him a justly deserved book battering.
Even though your house was on fire?
Oh, he never stopped throwing until the anger subsides. It would be terribly bad for the nerve to do otherwise.
Of course, I should have realized.
That's a significant step forward, Mr. Naruto. You've managed to establish that the window was open. We simply must have that added to Mrs. Garadeb's formal statement.
Hold it!
The fourth book found at the scene of the crime shows very obvious signs of fire damage. And the title of the book is The Lion's Pride. The same title, in fact, as the book that Mr. Garadeb told us he had been reading.
Well, I couldn't really say.
On the day in question, did you or not throw at your husband the copy of The Lion's Pride that he had been reading?
I did. It was the first thing I could lay my hands on, so I hurled it straight at him. And now you come to mention it, yes. He was rather enjoying reading it, you're right.
Why did you not reveal this information to the court from the outset?
Because I couldn't, you insolent little man. I didn't remember. At times like that, you pick up and throw whatever you can lay your hands on, as well you know.
I really don't.
I barely noticed I was throwing a book, much less the title of it.
Excuse me.
What is it, juror number 5? You know something? I've remembered what it was. The memory I'd blocked out. Huh? It was listening to what this Garadi was saying. Brought it all flooding back.
Who are you? Who are you calling a granny, you cheeky devil? I'm Mrs. Garadeb, or the maid. I'll have you know.
Man doesn't even flinch. Please tell me that's not because he's so used to being hit all the time. It was about 2 weeks ago now. I just got back home after work, like. I put my hand in my pocket for the wages I just earned that day, and I nearly died. There was a hole. Every last penny had dropped out. Oh dear, what a disaster. You haven't heard the half of it, boy. Oh? The wife was cutting up some chicken at the time. I could hardly get the words out, but I told her straight. I've lost the day's wages, love. Next thing I knew, the blade was whistling past my ear. Stuck into the wall next to me, it did, about an inch deep. No words, just terror. I could smell it then, you know. That god-awful stench of the Thames. I was sure I was going to end up face down in the muddy banks that night, I can tell you. Now, that's a real disaster, isn't it? I'll never use the word lightly again. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. When women lose their rag, they'll throw anything at you. Knives, hatchets, hammocks, you name it.
Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't think that all women are so short-tempered and refined.
No, I wasn't thinking that.
Throwing household objects at people is, well, it's so uncivilized. At least attack with honor, using a bow or the like.
What? Attack? Who are you gonna attack?
Never mind. Anyway, this man's words. It could be rather significant, I think.
Alright, we'll come back to the bow and arrow thing later, if I dare.
Hold it!
Your wife really threw a kitchen knife at you? That's right. She was chopping meat with it. Had a tiny edge on it, believe me. Still, it's all memories, isn't it? Started with that smile she threw me when we were courting. And since then, the list of things she's thrown at me has grown along with our relationship. There was a cup, then a glass, then a pot, a kettle, a chair, a wardrobe, a cooker, a bathtub. Your wife must be even beefier than you. And things came to a head last week when she threw me right into the Thames. Still, she's not so bad when she's calmed down. She's a little sweetheart, really. I'm so happy for you. If you want to know what I think this whole idea of ladies first that we're so obsessed with in this country was thought up by some clever lads who've been tossed in the Thames a few times, too many times by their wives. That's a very interesting theory.
What a terrible thought.
On the face of it, this juror's statement just sounds like a really extreme anecdote. But I think it might turn out to be an extremely powerful weapon. A weapon I might be able to use to make the jurors accept an alternative explanation here.
Hold it!
Did you change your statement from before? Well, yes. It was one of my most memorable birthdays, you see. I couldn't let it go unremembered. I'm sure the defendant will be delighted that you're using this trial to explore your past. And how is that memory related to this case exactly? Sorry, what's that? You'll have to speak up, I'm afraid. Never mind. He's as deaf as a post when he wants to be. But actually, this old man's anecdote might just provide the alternative explanation I need to make my point to some of the other jurors. We used unlit candles on my birthday this year. It's safer that way.
So the window was open.
So the window was open when the Gyarados were arguing that day.
Yes, Mrs. Gyarados was finally to admit to it, which is a very significant victory for the defense.
I feel like the fog's starting to clear, and an alternative explanation to this case is starting to show itself.
Hold it!
At the point when the victim was attacked on Briar Road, we know there was a small house fire in the Gyarados household on the opposite side of the street.
Well, yes, it certainly seems that way. On account of the smoke, I imagine they would have had the windows wide open in spite of the cold.
We also know that Miss Gyarados was throwing flaming books at her husband. Her husband, who was backed into a corner by the window due to his wife's frenzied attack.
Yes, that's right. So there's definitely a chance that one of the books could have flown past the man and out the window. Only
what?
Only I can't really see how it could have gone all the way over to the other side of the road, that's all. Ah! So I don't really see how I can change my decision, really.
Oh, I see.
That wasn't enough? What is it going to take to persuade these people?
Objection!
These two statements clearly have a deeply significant connection. Good grief, You mean they don't contradict each other? Explain, counsel, at once. Juror number 2, do you think perhaps that this could be one such novel alternative?
Oh my, whatever do you mean?
An alternative explanation as to how the victim was stabbed in the back. What are you talking about? We've demonstrated that the 4th book, The Lion's Pride, that was found at the scene of the crime, originated in Mr. Garrett's room on the top floor of his house. Therefore, it's equally possible that some other object besides the book could have found its way from the Garrett household to the street below. What's that now? After all, Miss Garrett could have thrown any number of different objects at her husband. Isn't that right, juror number 4?
What are you insinuating now, you little beanpole?
I'm beginning to think that ever since the true origins of this book came to light, perhaps she's had a feeling this might be what happened. Now listen here, Now listen here, you Eastern Gala. As the foreman of this jury, I demand a straight answer. You give us this yarn about some other object making its way out of the house. But what? What is it? I'm really taking a big gamble here. That was a bold accusation to make, but I haven't any real evidence to back it up. But I'm certain that at the very least this warrants further investigation. Alright, Mr. Foreman, I'll try to explain the defense's theory. The other object that found its way into from the Garrett household to the scene of the crime was...
Take that!
Juror number 4, Mrs. Garrett.
What? What now?
I must apologize in advance for this, but I need you to confirm something else for the court. This knife. Have you ever seen this knife before? Good Lord, counsel, what on earth are you doing? That's the weapon that was lodged in the victim's back, man! My lord, remember that when the victim was attacked, Mr. and Mrs. Garrett were in the throes of an argument. Mrs. Garrett was hurling anything she could at her husband, who had been backed up against the window. A window that had been opened to clear the smoke, and through which a book sailed to land at the crime scene. You can't seriously believe that. The book was found in the victim's grasp.
Are you saying it flew out the window and across the street to land neatly in her hand?
Even my missus hasn't got aim like that. Yes, I admit, there are many details we don't yet understand. But that's the point. That's precisely why we must not allow this trial to end. Not right now.
Oh my.
Mrs. Garrett, your answer, please. Have you seen this knife before or not? My lord.
My lord, I wish to change my decision. I'm a woman of my word, after all.
Thank you, madam. Yes, I agree. I certainly didn't see this coming, but I just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end now with so many unanswered questions. Mr. Foreman. I'd have to agree. Not that I think the karate did it bind.
Yes, you know what? I'm not quite happy about this at the moment either.
All together now, ladies and gents. All together now, ladies and gents. Didn't I already testify? Oh, that's Fair Play's voice. Didn't I already testify?
We did it. Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruto.
So, as a result of the defense's summation examination, a number of jurors' leanings have changed. 2 jurors called guilty against 4 now calling innocent. Now then, Lord Benzeeks, how does the prosecution wish to proceed? This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. Like a corked wine, the first few sips are bitter enough. But what follows is so repugnant. It's good for nothing save the gutter. It's good for nothing save the gutter. If I may, Lord Badzix. No, what was it? If I may, Lord Badzix. The defenses put forward a credible alternative explanation for what happened. Credible? Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense's argument is a joke to which I barely know how to respond. Let me start by insisting that you must all familiarize yourselves better with the relative positions of those places being discussed. What do you mean by that? What's his angle this time? It should already be more than apparent that between the crime scene and the Garrett household runs a rather wide street, Briar Road. Which means that the distance from the Garrett's house to the scene is some, yes, 15 yards.
Let me see. 15 yards. That's around 14 meters. 14 meters? Oh, that's a little farther than I'd imagined.
And, as you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightly noted, as having portentous significance, the fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, the smoldering book wantonly hurled by the lady of the house traveled some 15 yards to land on the opposite side of the road, neatly between the collapsed victim's fingers and thumb. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? And did the jackknife follow a near-identical trajectory to plunge into the middle of the victim's back? This fantasy is somewhat stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Even those pathetic serialized detective stories have more believable plots.
There's nothing I can say to that. That prosecutor loves the sound of his own voice. Mr. Sato, serialized detective stories are pathetic, are they? How dare he?
Maybe let's pick our battles here.
My lord, might I be allowed to speak?
As judicial assistant, you may speak for the defense. Yes, go ahead.
The prosecution may consider the idea fantasy, but what the defense has postulated was believable enough to persuade the jury to change its leaning, and as such, the court has a duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible. To that end, juror number 4, Mrs. Joan Garrett, must be called to testify and submit to cross-examination.
Saints alive! A cross-examination of a juror? Order, order, order! Well, this is highly irregular. It is unprecedented for a member of the jury to be summoned to the witness stand.
Objection!
And unnecessary. Lord Vadzix! There are already witnesses in the stand whose testimony the defense may further cross-examine. If my learned friend's farcical theory has any truth to it, then both a burning book and a jackknife must have flown through the sky before this couple's eyes. And we must assume they would be able to testify accordingly. What say you, witnesses? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Constable Rowley Beat reporting for duty, sir. Yes, sir. Constable Rowley Beat reporting for duty, sir.
Oh yeah, that's a good voice for him. I couldn't find one last week.
Yes, sir. Constable Rowley Beat reporting for duty, sir. Well, Good morning, officer. Sorry for dozing until now, sir. I haven't slept for a month. I haven't slept for a month on account of a villain who's appeared on my beat, sir.
Oh, they are so heroic, these London Barbies.
Patricia, my darling, I've been neglecting you, but no more.
Oh, Rolly, my hero, you make me swoon.
Very well. I hereby reject the defense's request.
Oh.
And order the witnesses in the stand to testify again. State forthwith before the court any details pertaining to the defense's alternative explanation of events. Yes, sir! This case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garrett. Believe me, a London Bobby is good for his word. You see, sir, the windows on the top floor of the Garrett house are top-hinged casements.
Obviously, if anything had been thrown out of the window, we would have seen it. I did leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusty Rolly was there to make sure nothing was disturbed.
I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for one moment, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir. Well, this is quite startling. Top-hinged casement windows. That detail was not in the police report, Constable. Ah, yes. Sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy. Use your sins with drowsiness every time, Constable. No, sir. Sorry, but what exactly is a top-hinged casement window? And you cannot excuse your ignorance with such trite remarks, my learned friend. Of course, sorry.
I found it, Mr. Naruhodo. Cast your mind back to the windows in Mr. and Miss Scaredeb's room. Alright, I'll try. So, the window opens in order to allow air to circulate inside the house. But as it's a top-hinged casement window, it swings open along the upper edge, you see.
I'm glad you've rectified your ignorance. A casement window's most prominent feature is its stay, a metal bar which prevents the window from being opened beyond a certain amount.
It prevents it opening? This is all news to me.
Absolutely correct, sir. In other words, if a book or knife were to have been thrown through the open window, it would have clattered against the pane and fallen straight down to the pavement below.
No.
You see the problem then. Good. Your education in windows is complete.